Thank you, Dick and Terry and Stacy. Wow, what photographs in their photo albums. Amazing. Now, please join me in welcoming visual communications designer Tom Dolle.
Thank you, Anne. Wow, big crowd. For the next 15 minutes, I'll be taking you on a little journey that connects a Hollywood scandal, William Kreisel, Modernism Week, Harry Styles, Hullabaloo, Elizabeth Taylor, and turf removal. What a great combination. And it all takes place in Canyon View Estates. Of course, every tale of Southern California starts in Hollywood. In 1960, developer Roy Fay built a home for Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh in the movie colony designed by Donald Wexler. Avid tennis buffs, they applied for membership to the exclusive Palm Springs Tennis Club, but were rejected because Curtis was Jewish. So Curtis and Leigh, along with a group of their Hollywood friends, approached Fay about building a club of their own. Fay found the perfect location. A 40-acre plot in South Palm Springs on leased land near the soon-to-be-completed Canyon Country Club. They hired Hugh Captor to design a 200-room semicircular hotel with 7 air-conditioned tennis courts. But Curtis and Leigh went through a rather scandalous divorce before building began, and so the project was canceled. To replace the tennis club project, Fay turned to architect William Kreisel to devise a plan for condominium homes in a park-like setting, which was a very new concept and one of Fay's first major construction projects. This aerial photograph from 1964 shows Canyon View Estates in the center, and you can see Villa Roma at the bottom and some Indian Canyon homes on the right. The design for Canyon View Estates incorporated Kreisel's signature design elements, such as the unique pop-up double gable roof designs with clerestory windows, patterned concrete block, open carports, and other details that we now recognize as the Palm Springs School of Modern Architecture. There were 2 floor plans with only a few minor variations. Kreisel was also a landscape architect, and this original drawing for Phase 1 shows some of his landscape details. Note the angled beds that reflect the angled roof lines. In a move unusual for a developer, Fay removed several dozen units from the master plan of the following phases, allowing for wide rolling green spaces, plus flexibility in positioning the patios for the best mountain views, or canyon views, and maximum privacy. Canyon View Estates was built in 7 phases, each with its own homeowner association. The first 5 phases were built from 1962 to 1965, and sales were brisk. By the time Phase 7 came in 1966, all had 2-car garages and slightly larger floor plans. This set the mold for Fay's following development of nearby Canyon Estates in 1969, modeled on the same concept but much larger, surrounding a golf course and designed by Charles Dubois. Roy Fay was the P.T. Barnum of condominium developers, with a knack for publicity and a keen sense of what buyers wanted. He ran extensive display and classified advertising for Canyon View Estates in the Desert Sun, Palm Springs Life, and the Los Angeles Times. Roy Fay's marketing savvy secured regular publicity in the Desert Sun, showing him shaking hands with new owners, describing the lush country club environment, or talking with the workers down in the trenches about underground wiring, a modern luxury that allowed for uninterrupted mountain views. In these ads from 1965, on the left, local celebrity interior designer Noel Burns shows a Canyon View Estates living room he decorated in a plush Mediterranean-inspired look. The color photos on the right were from a model home he designed with a sleeker modern look in red, white, and black. Although Kreisel's architecture exudes a sophisticated modernism, the buyer's tastes were probably a little more rooted in upper middle class decorator style. And by 1965, Mediterranean was in and Danish modern was out. Canyon View Estates was advertised as being medallion homes, part of one of the most effective home marketing campaigns of all time. In the late 1950s, the General Electric and Westinghouse corporations decided to co-sponsor a multi-million-dollar nationwide campaign to promote the sales of electric appliances and the benefits of electric power. Living in a medallion home was marketed as the height of modern living. The campaign sought to raise the electrical standards in new construction to allow for ever more appliances, built-in illumination, and new luxuries like central air conditioning. The Medallion Home campaign was surely ahead of its time. 60 years later, electricity via green power sources is finally becoming the power of the future. Canyon View Estates advertising described luxuriously appointed all-electric kitchens by Waste King, a rather unfortunately named appliance manufacturer in Southern California. Kitchens came equipped with custom white and walnut look, genuine Formica cabinets, counters, and pass-through bars. Sleek laminate cabinets were the height of fashion in the early 1960s, and many Canyon View Estates homes retained some or all of this original cabinetry. Each primary bath included a fully tiled sunken Roman tub, a trendy luxury feature especially popular in Palm Springs. The scandalous epic movie in 1963, Cleopatra, featured a scene with Elizabeth Taylor in a sunken tub, adding to the allure. Practically speaking, tiled tubs are not especially comfortable, and the steps down can be rather treacherous, but they were nevertheless considered the height of sybaritic luxury. Canyon View Estate homes featured luxury flooring, which in that more innocent time meant wall-to-wall carpeting and marbleized or terrazzo look vinyl flooring. During construction, some homes were upgraded to real terrazzo. When we first bought our home here in 2014, it was already scheduled to be on a Modernism Week tour. So I asked my friend Jeff Stork to bring over a few of his classic cars to position in the carports around our unit. You could almost see the light bulb flash as we both looked out the window, and with no visible signs of the present day, we were totally transformed back to 1964. Jeff said, "I had a terrible idea, which I've come to know is something you want to be aware of." And before I could say no, we set off to create the Cul de Sac experience for Fall Modernism Week 2 years later. The photo here is by Jeff Pick from that first Cul de Sac event. On view at the Palm Springs Art Museum and widely published, it has become the newly iconic Palm Springs image in the matter of poolside gossip by Slim Aarons, or so I'd like to believe. Being a brand designer, I designed Cul de Sac to within an inch of its life. I spent many hours doing research on the history of Canyon View Estates, including much of what you saw earlier in the presentation, and produced 8 large educational display panels, as well as a comprehensive 20-page brochure, signage, props, and set decorations to support the illusion of being back in time. A combination of house tour, car show, history lesson, fashion show, street party, and celebration of the mid-century lifestyle, it became an interactive time capsule experience that struck a nerve. We knew we were onto something, but Cul de Sac became groundbreaking to a level we hadn't really imagined. The energy was palpable as tour-goers found themselves in a unique outdoor theater in the round that was set back in time. Local fashionistas showed up in period outfits, and everyone got in on the party. Photographers, models, and stylists used the event to capture unique imagery that conveyed the retro spirit in a modern way for a new generation. By year 3, we added a car and a turntable, a DJ spinning vinyl, and go-go dancers on hullabaloo-style platforms for Cul de Sac a Go-Go, because why not? Now, how on earth did we find those additions? Well, one of the benefits of living in Palm Springs is that it's not hard to find unusual talent and willing collaborators. Cul de Sac became one of the most extensively photographed and documented Fall Modernism Week events, with lots of social media buzz, achieving the goal of using fall events to promote the larger February schedule of events. That's my living room in the bottom right. Some of you might see it on the tour later today. Cul de Sac was such a success from a branding and marketing perspective that I was invited by Modernism Week to run workshops with neighborhood groups to help them effectively use marketing, social media, and event design to make their events more successful. Cultural tourism can be a great community income source. Professional materials and attention to detail can add perceived value to tickets that are now approaching and surpassing $100. And if imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, I'd like to think the producers of Don't Worry Darling, who used the neighboring Cul de Sac in Canyon View Estates as a major location in the film, saw the same things we saw 5 years earlier. So with the success of the past 4 Cul de Sac events, we were able to raise a substantial amount of money, and we had a plan for exactly what to do with it. This photo from a 1965 ad shows our pool shortly after construction. Note the lack of a fence and the large expanse of green lawn. The park-like setting of Canyon View Estates with acres of lawn was an effective sales tool in the 1960s, promoting year-round green to reassure buyers from colder climates. But what was once an asset has now become a liability. With continued drought, maintenance on water and seed price increases, and water restrictions, it has become unsustainable to have this much lawn. By the early 2000s, the original landscape was showing its age. Never fully realized, most of it was random shrubbery against a vast expanse of turf. Besides updating the landscape to be more drought tolerant, it was also time to make it more beautiful. Now, as anyone who has gone through the landscape conversion process knows, this is an expensive operation. Design, hardscape, plantings, and the endless irrigation plumbing all add to the cost. Factor in 60-year-old pipes and having to agree with 34 neighbors, and you can understand how difficult this was. The first large turf removal project took out a huge chunk of open lawn and turned it into a park filled with desert plants, by landscape designer Paul Ortega. Completed before the Cul de Sac events, this was paid for with a combination of homeowner dues and water rebates. The park can be seen in the lower right in this map. Once the Cul de Sac monies were raised, we were able to accelerate the plans to remove more turf. The new enlarged angled beds surrounding the homes, designed by Bernard Peterbau, reflect William Kreisel's original landscape concepts for Canyon View Estates. Out of the 60,000 square feet of backyard turf we started with, we have successfully removed a third of it, over 20,000 square feet. Future plans call for removing another third over the next 5 or so years, as soon as we can get the money and get people to agree, of course. And this is the result. Not only have we reduced, thank you. Not only have we reduced our water use, but we've created a more inviting desert landscape that complements and enhances the historic architecture. Native plants that attract insects, pollinators, and birds have replaced expanses of useless lawn. Like many communities in the area, our property values have doubled since we started this 8 years ago. Although not directly related to the landscaping, it has certainly contributed to the desirability of homes in our HOA. This view is from a homeowner's cactus garden to the park below. The new landscape has encouraged individual homeowners to also convert their front yards, which they have control over with HOA approval. Gravel, plant materials, edging, and other details must conform to a new set of design guidelines. The approved gravel color is called Palm Springs Gold, so we are literally turning green into gold. The mix of desert colors from native plants of various scales and textures is the perfect complement to Kreisel's mid-century architectural details. The enlarged angled beds, based on Kreisel's original landscape plans, create new pathways and sight lines that enhance the views. With the proven success of the new landscaping, the community is supportive of continuing this turf removal effort. By investing in this long-term landscaping plan, we have proven that preservation matters. So our Cul de Sac experiment in cultural tourism, along with dedicated neighbors working together, allowed us to turn green into gold. With some of the Cul de Sac money, we were able to install 2 new monument signs to identify Canyon View Estates for the first time. My design used Chrysal's distinctive gable roofline to communicate the essence of this special community. Come take a look and give us a wave next time you drive by. Thank you.